obviously everyone knows who Yu Darvish is. One of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Can strike you out, keep you off balance. So many weapons. I've compared him. He's an absolute artist on the mound. Takes so much pride in just manipulating the baseball any way he wants. Like a painter with a bunch of different colors of paint, a bunch of different shades, and will find the exact right one to get you out. He doesn't need any introduction. He's just a guy that could he be do you ever not want him to pitch in a big game? He would be another guy that obviously could shut down any lineup in the world, but it seems like Japan has a lot of those guys. And it's just going to be maybe pick a name out of the hat. But yeah, great pitcher. That's the thing that jumps out at me the most, is having a guy like Yu Darvish with his experience and still being pretty much at the top of his game. But for some of the younger guys who have unlimited talent, to be able to watch him and learn what he does. I mean, Yu Darvish is also a master at the mental game, which a lot of young pitchers have a struggle with. So having that guy to pitch alongside of and say, hey, calm their nerves in a big game, maybe be a resource for them. Yeah, that's huge, and why I think it's really important for you to be on the staff, to be a mentor to some of these young guys, because you're talking about the best young pitchers in the world. I mean, between Yamamoto and Sasaki, those are, two of the best young pitchers in the entire world. And to be able to learn from someone like that is fantastic. And he's really he's also a guy that people aren't like. He's open, and he also he's got a great sense of humor. So being able to let his guard down and not be one of those guys that people are afraid to talk to, but that people really want to talk to, and maybe he's a good guy to also for the team to rally around, because to me, the best teams have an identity, and Yu knows that more than anybody. And starting pitching on this team is so important, that rallying around that and saying, hey, it's all about us. We're a club. We're the guys that are going to carry this team, and taking a pride in it, learning from each other, feeding off each other. That's going to be big. And, I don't think you can understate how important having somebody like Yu Darvish on that team is. The problem I'm having with the Japanese pitching staff is I keep talking myself around at who is the number one pitcher, because he is arguably, you can certainly make an argument that Yamamoto is the best starter in the world off his last 2 years. Upper 90s fastball with a crazy good curveball that is one of the most unique pitches in the world. You don't see anybody throw a curveball like he does, with the thumb behind it, almost like throwing a yo-yo. You have his splitter, which is really it's a weapon, but I think so many people have focused, or I've focused so much on his curveball, that I don't give his splitter or fork that much. And I noticed that he changed his mechanics a little bit to quiet everything down this year. That's going to be fun to watch. But fans are in for a big treat watching this guy pitch, because he has so many weapons at a young age, great command. And I think I did the math that his ERA over the last 2 years is a combined 1.56 or something. You don't get better than that. So he's very, very good. Somebody that if you follow Japanese baseball, everybody knows him. But I think the rest of the world will come to know him very, very soon. And he's as good as there is. He is legit. I love that pitching with emotion right there too. Give me that all day. Give me those guys that are just fired up. As well as Roki Sasaki, who has maybe the best upside of any pitcher I've ever seen in my entire time watching pitching. I think he is the best prospect. He's not a prospect. He's obviously a starter, a professional starter, but has more upside than any pitcher in the entire world. He's absolutely perfect, literally perfect when he's on, because he threw a perfect game and backed it up with an 8-inning perfect game, which is not something you see in normal human beings do. A guy that can throw 102 miles an hour with a splitter that is totally unhittable, as you see right there. And he's not like one of those young guys who doesn't have command. He's got command. He can pitch in a big game. You know, is he the best? Is he the best young pitcher in the world? I think he may be. And that's, I think, a great comparison. Although I would say Green's slider is really, really good, and Sasaki's fork/splitter really, really good. And there's a slider, I guess. I think his combination may be better than Green's right now, just because of his consistency. But yeah, Green's got a huge upside too. Did you I'm watching his splitter from a home plate view, and it looks like a fastball. You're looking at it going, here's a fastball that's kind of at my belt. I'm going to swing, and all of a sudden it's not there anymore. And where they look the same, and that splitter just totally disappears, and it makes a hitter look stupid, because you have to respect a fastball that's 100 miles an hour. You can't, you have to gear up for that fastball. You get a pitch that looks like that fastball. Now, being able to throw a slider in there too, so you're not even just looking splitter. He's a nightmare to face. And, what is he? Where does he fit in on a rotation? Is he your number 1? Is he your number 4? Would you ever be upset having him pitch in a championship game? Now, I would throw him against anybody in the world and see what he's about, but I think the world is about to know just how good Roki Sasaki is. And it's one of the things I've noticed a lot. Like they're not just throwers. It's almost like pitching is an art. And the thing to me about Japanese pitchers in general, top tier Japanese pitchers, the use of the splitter/fork is it's a bigger art form than it is in the U.S. Like in the U.S., you have guys that throw splitters. Obviously, Kevin Gausman's splitter is fantastic. But there are more pitchers that throw splitters in Japan, and there's a bunch of variations of splitters. You have gyro splitters. You have splitters that can move either way. It's, to me, much more of an art form. Like, what do you do? This pitching staff is so good. It's definitely the best starting pitching in the world. It's head and shoulders. You can roll the dice and throw any of those guys out there, and they're going to do well. And of course, you have the lightning rod for every bit of attention in the world. The best player in the world, Shohei Ohtani, on the team. Which we have, we're bragging about all this starting pitching and all this pitching in general. And we haven't talked about maybe my favorite pitcher to watch in baseball, Shohei Ohtani. And, where does he fit in on the team? What is he going to do? How much is he going to throw? Is there ever a game that you don't want that guy? I mean, we have 4 guys that you can roll the dice and throw one out there. And one of those guys is the filthiest pitcher in the entire world right now, Shohei Ohtani. As well, I think Ohtani pitching alongside Darvish is really good, because no matter how good you are, Shohei's got great raw stuff. He's a great talent, great competitor, maybe one of the most competitive athletes I've ever seen, because when you get a runner on base, you can see his face change. You can see how serious he gets, and it's almost like he takes these superpowers that he has and puts it up another notch. Having that, and then having the wisdom of a Yu Darvish, who's been there in every single type of situation, to feed off, for Shohei to feed off of, and even learn a little bit more. So now you're taking this incredible competitiveness with an incredible artistic ability that Darvish has, and marrying those two, and maybe even making Ohtani that much better. It's a scary thought to think that Shohei Ohtani could be a better pitcher than he is, or than he was last year, because you can make the argument that he was the best pitcher, in the American League last year, and it would not, obviously, Verlander won the Cy Young Award and is a great pitcher in his own right. But Shohei Ohtani is unbelievably talented with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, a splitter that no one can hit, and you throw in there a slider that was the second best pitch in Major League Baseball last year. And he invented a sinker in the middle of or towards the end of the season that was also 100 miles an hour and was as good as anybody's sinker in baseball. And not to mention his curveball, which gets a ton of whiffs, but he doesn't throw that much. So he can do anything. His command has gotten better. His stuff is ridiculous. And he is the one guy that I would sit there and go, if you put him against the Dominican lineup, which is loaded, or the U.S. lineup, which is loaded, he's the ultimate equalizer because there's nobody that can hit that guy. Like he's proven it to me. We talked about Sasaki, we talked about Yamamoto, we talked about Darvish, but if you want a sheer force of going against any of those talented lineups, I wouldn't bet ever against Shohei Ohtani when he's pitching on the mound, ever. Like he's that good. He wants to show his stuff against the absolute best. I think here, Major League Baseball fans got so spoiled watching him hit that they almost thought pitching was a hobby for him. And when he came over, I thought I thought he was a pitcher first. Last year, he showed what he can do on the mound and opened up everybody's eyes like, oh yeah, he is one of the best pitchers in the entire world. I had him in the top 4 in Major League Baseball just right now, but I could argue he's the best pitcher in Major League Baseball, at least in terms of stuff, because he has so many weapons. Yeah, I want to see the Angels. I want to see him in a playoff game, in a game that really matters, where you see that competitiveness that he has and that desire to win, where he and Mike Trout put the team on their back and lift it up and do it this year. Because that's the thing that's holding his reputation back, right? Like everybody wants to see a guy win, and you want to see him do it in the World Series. You want to see him win a championship, close out game, pitching game 7, pitch, lights out, shut somebody out, and then everybody going, that guy is clearly the best pitcher in the world. Because in the end, it's about championships. Winning a championship for Team Japan would be huge. Winning it winning a World Series would be huge. He just seems to get let down every year by the team, not him,